What we're going to tackle now is grouping the cart items inside of our cart reducer. So if I add this item 4 times, what we will have is the same 4 items inside of our cart items array, which we don't want. We want to instead just add some quantity property to this object and increase or decrease it based on whether or not we add the same item or we want to remove the same item from our cart. Now, how do we tackle this? Well, we're going to write a utility function for this, and there's actually many ways to handle this, but I'm going to write the way that best obeys React's rules. The rule being that whenever we make this update, we always want to return a new array, even if the object stays the same and we're just increasing the property. Because in order for change detection to trigger, we have to remember that if the object that is being used as a property to display stays the same and simply a property changes, React will not re-render the component. So we need to make sure that every time we pass in a new object with an increase in that quantity value. So let's actually write this code. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to know that we need to call that function that we're about to write on our reducer code. And we are going to make it inside of a new file called cart.utils.js. Inside of here, we can add any utility functions related to our cart Redux code. So what I'm going to write is first this function called addItemToCart, which is going to take 2 arguments. The first is all the existing cart items that are in our cart items array right now. And then the second item is going to be the cart item that we want to add. Because what we're going to do is we're going to look inside of our existing cart items to see if that cart item already exists. And we are going to actually write that in this code. So we're going to set it to the value of existing cart item if cart items.find is true. And cart items.find will return you the first item found in our array based off a condition that we pass in here. And the condition is based off of this function where we get each individual cart item and we'll check the cart item's ID if it matches the cart item we're trying to add's ID. If it matches, it will set that cart item where this condition is true to our constant. If it doesn't find anything after looping through all of it, it will be undefined. So then we're going to check, well, if existing cart item exists, then what we're going to return from our entire function is our cart items.map, because cart items.map will return us a new array. And we remember that we need to return new versions of our state so that our components know to re-render properly. Now what we're going to pass is cart item, right, inside of our .map. So again, each cart item. And we will do the same thing where if cart item.id is equal to our cart item to add.id, then we will create a new object where we have the cart item, except the quantity will be cart item.quantity plus 1. Now, we don't have a quantity yet, but we're going to solve that after. So first what we'll do is if that item doesn't match, we just want to return the original cart item because there's no need to update any of the components that might be relying on our object, right? So we don't need to make any modifications. We'll just return the cart item as it is. Now, if the cart item is not found inside of our array, then we want to return a new array with all of our existing cart items that were already there. But we also want to now add in an object which is equal to our cart item to add, except we're going to give it a base quantity of 1. And this way, whenever we add our cart items in, any subsequent cart items will be able to reference that quantity value that we have added to our objects when we store them. And now we just have to import this into our reducer from cart utils, and it is called add item to cart. And now we just have to replace this code with our add item to cart, passing in our state.cart items, as well as our action payload, which is the item that we want to add. And now we actually need to make one more modification. So in our shop data code, I accidentally set it so that the IDs of the items actually repeat. So even though they're unique in their respective array, subsequent arrays reference the same ID. And based on the code we wrote, this will cause a problem because it'll say that brown brim is actually the same ID as Adidas NMD. So I've provided a new file with the updated simply so that the IDs are all unique on the items themselves. So you just need to replace this array with the new array that I gave you. And now we save that, and if we check our code, we'll see that, let's say I add this brown brim hat. We look inside of our cart items, and there's our object, except with the 1 quantity. But if I add it 2 more times, if we look in our cart, we'll see that our object's quantity value has increased, which is exactly what we want to do. We are grouping our items together based on this quantity value. And what we're also now able to do is if we need to create some kind of remove action, we can easily do so because we have this quantity value as well. So before we go on and build the actual cart component that displays the items inside of our cart dropdown, let's commit our code. So let's just check, and we have some pretty simple stuff. So we'll just say updated shop data with new data, and then updated cart utils to group items in cart reducer. We'll push this up, and let's move on.